What's going on in Antarctica?
Yeah, so the U.S. government's like, something's going on with Antarctica. There's some activity up there. We want to find out what's going on. So they send this cat named Admiral Byrd to go find out. And according to his journal that they found much later, he basically met with UFOs.
One of the first pilots to fly over both the North and South Poles organizes Operation High Jump, the largest expedition ever to travel to Antarctica.
His airplane is taken control of when he suddenly sees these flying disc-shaped objects around him that lead him to the ground.
Russian scientists just found something under Antarctica's ice, something so weird it's got the whole world on edge. We're talking secrets frozen for millions of years, hidden deep under the surface.
Of believing I can. And then, you know, it's fun to talk about the epic adventure, but for me, it's actually fun to talk about what happened behind the scenes of that.
Oh, we're just about to enter into the shear zone here. We just want to make sure that everybody's capable should the worst possible case happen.
The discovery is so massive, even Joe Rogan can't stop talking about it. What did they find down there? And could it change everything we thought we knew about history, life, or the future itself? Stay tuned, because we're about to reveal everything the Russians found in the coldest, most secretive place on Earth.
Hundreds of feet deep, depending on the ones that you get into. It's just from the shifting and moving ice.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so you can't even see the bottom. He stops himself. This guy self-arrests.
Joe Rogan's Antarctica obsession. Russian scientists made a discovery under Antarctica's ice, and the shocking truth, they tried to hide it from the rest of the world. At first, people thought it was pure science fiction, but when it came up on the Joe Rogan Experience, the conversation took a much more serious turn. Antarctica is already this brutally cold frontier, a place still shrouded in mystery. So when you hear about Russians drilling into ancient, hidden lakes, it demands the world's attention. Joe Rogan's interest in Antarctica isn't just about the ice and cold. It's about the secrets hidden under layers of ice that no one really understands. Imagine a continent covered almost entirely by ice, a frozen wasteland that seems untouched and isolated from the rest of the world. No cities, no permanent people, just scientists who come and go, studying things we barely understand. But what Russian researchers found there may shake up everything we think we know about history and the planet. Stick with us, because this is just the beginning. During an episode with Sam Tripoli, Sam and Joe discussed a secret U.S. Navy mission codenamed Operation High Jump. The mission was led by Admiral Richard Byrd in 1946. According to official records, the Navy sent Byrd to explore Antarctica, establish bases, and test equipment in extreme conditions. However, according to recent revelations, it was a covert battle against Nazis who had reportedly established a hidden base under the ice. As if that wasn't wild enough, some sources claim Admiral Byrd was actually hunting alien technology hidden beneath the ice sheets. But according to Tripoli, Byrd's fleet was sent to crush a Nazi stronghold, only to be attacked by flying saucers emerging from the ice. So it seems a little bit of both, Nazis and aliens. Joe Rogan, however, doesn't blindly believe every wild theory presented to him. Instead, he listens with an open mind, pokes holes in the stories, but also keeps alive that spark that makes you wonder, what if? It's this balance of skepticism and imagination that makes his take on Antarctica so interesting. Just as we were still pondering Tripoli's revelation, Andy Stump, a retired Navy SEAL, also dropped explosive revelations about Antarctica. According to Stump, the Navy has data on people who vanished under mysterious circumstances in Antarctica. He didn't jump into conspiracy mode, but the revelations are scary enough. Why would people just vanish on a continent we supposedly have under control? Rogan picked up on that immediately, asking questions about why no one talks about these disappearances. There wasn't a clear answer, but the seed was planted. Antarctica is less a frozen land and more a place where strange things happen. Then there was Colin O'Brady, a pro-adventurer who actually crossed Antarctica solo on foot. His first-hand experience painted a vivid picture of the mystery. According to him, Antarctica is just an endless white silence, a quiet so deep it messes with your mind. According to Colin, he felt watched even when he was completely alone. What really drives Rogan's interest in Antarctica, though, goes way beyond just the stories and theories. It's rooted in his fundamental distrust of official stories. He's built his entire career by questioning authority, whether it's about UFOs, Bigfoot, or government cover-ups. And Antarctica, this massive ice sheet stretching across 5.4 million square miles with a largely unmapped land under it, it feels like the ultimate hiding place for secrets. However, that is not the most interesting part. Remember, the continent is locked down by an international treaty. No military activity, no mining. You can't just walk in and start poking around. It's the perfect vault for anything too explosive for the public. According to scientific estimates, roughly 70% of Antarctica's landmass remains unexplored, buried under all that ice. That leaves an incredible amount of room for speculation. Every year, new discoveries surface, from massive subglacial lakes hidden miles beneath the ice to strange magnetic anomalies. Even fossils that prove Antarctica was once a tropical paradise full of ferns and dinosaurs. But what if Antarctica had also hosted lost civilizations or even aliens? This may shock you, but the truth is, we actually know more about Mars than we do about Antarctica. That's not an exaggeration. It's a reminder of the mysteries that remain unsolved on our planet. The truth is that some of the claims, Nazi ice base, alien base, and relics of a lost civilization all sound crazy. But then, just when you think he's all in, Rogan pulls back with that straight-faced shrug. That's the Rogan trick. He can throw wild theories on the table without ever fully buying in, and somehow, that keeps you leaning in closer. He's got this weird talent for dancing on the edge of madness without falling off the cliff. It's what makes his Antarctica stories some of his most interesting stuff he's worked on. He'll start with a real detail, something solid, then suddenly spiral into ancient alien runways or Nazi hideouts. And the next second, he's zooming out again, poking holes, playing devil's advocate, keeping it light but curious. There's something addictive about the way he mixes real science with full-blown rumors. And now, with Russia making moves down there, and yes, we're going to get into that soon, Rogan has even more reasons to keep spinning the wheel. There's new tension, fresh mysteries, and a whole lot of global silence around what's actually happening on that continent. It's the kind of thing that makes Rogan light up, because when the stories get quiet, that's when the speculation gets loud. Before revealing the shocking details of Russian activities in Antarctica, it is important to refresh our memories on the Admiral Byrd's expedition, codenamed Operation High Jump. The sheer size of the fleet, the weapons they carried, the time frame of the mission. There's a whole lot of interesting revelations just ahead. Admiral Byrd's secret mission to Antarctica. Operation High Jump is one of the most extraordinary and mysterious military expeditions in modern history. Launched by the United States Navy in 1946, just a year after the CCODN World War ended, it was commanded by Admiral Richard Byrd, a man already famous for his daring explorations of the polar regions. At its surface, the mission was straightforward: test equipment and train troops to survive in extreme cold, map large parts of Antarctica, and conduct scientific research. But the sheer size and nature of the expedition immediately raised eyebrows and set the stage for decades of conspiracy stories that continue to shock us today. For starters, the mission was massive, far beyond what a typical scientific expedition would require. Are taking about 13 naval ships, 23 aircraft, and nearly 4,700 men, one of the largest Antarctic operations ever attempted. Such a massive force wasn't just about research and survival training, it had the scale and muscle of a military campaign. However, the surprising part, it is not just the number of ships and men, it was the kind of firepower they brought along. The fleet carried heavily armed destroyers, an aircraft carrier, and submarines fitted for warfare. They brought tanks, helicopters, machine guns, and enough supplies to support sustained operations. Not just science missions, there were anti-aircraft weapons and full aviation support systems on deck, prepared for conflict, not just exploration. For a mission described as scientific, the level of military hardware raised serious questions. It looked less like a peaceful expedition and more like a military campaign ready for confrontation. Officially, the United States described Operation High Jump as a peaceful scientific venture.
Beyond that, the American government is in the discovery and the release to the world of the unknown treasures of Antarctica.
The Navy wanted to understand the challenges of operating in the Antarctic environment, improve cold weather equipment, and take aerial photos to map unexplored territory. But from the beginning, whispers floated around the mission, suggesting it had a hidden purpose. Over time, these rumors grew louder. According to some sources, certain high-ranking Nazis escaped to Antarctica at the end of war. According to this theory, they didn't just flee but established advanced underground bases equipped with cutting-edge technology sometimes described as UFO-like flying machines. These Nazi UFOs are said to have been developed as part of secret experiments and later used as a base of operations. So, according to people who believe this version, Operation High Jump was actually a military strike to confront and destroy these hidden Nazi enclaves. If you're wondering why people believe this story, well, Admiral Byrd was no ordinary naval officer. He was a celebrated polar explorer with decades of experience navigating and surviving in icy wildernesses. His achievements in the Arctic and Antarctic earned him worldwide respect. That is not all. Sources close to the expedition claim that Admiral Byrd kept a secret diary. The journal contains chilling accounts of encounters with alien flying saucers and enemies entrenched in hidden polar bases. While no official copy of this diary has ever surfaced, its reputation lives on and casts doubt on the true nature of the mission. In addition to the diary, another piece of the puzzle is an interview Byrd gave to the Chilean newspaper El Mercurio in 1947. In this interview, Byrd spoke in vague but alarming terms about threats coming from the polar regions. He warned about potential attacks originating from these remote areas, which for many listeners sounded like confirmation that the Antarctic was more than a frozen desert. Another popular story about Operation High Jump is the Hollow Earth theory. According to people who believe this version, Byrd and his team discovered a warm, habitable area under the Antarctic ice, a kind of secret oasis with its own ecosystem, possibly even an entrance to a vast world inside the Earth. The theory suggests Byrd flew over this area during the expedition and observed conditions that no one could explain. Well, many scientists and historians have dismissed this as pure fantasy, but the idea remains one of the mysteries surrounding Admiral Byrd's mission. Admiral Byrd was no stranger to adventure or danger. His credentials as a polar explorer were impeccable. He led several expeditions into both the Arctic and Antarctic over the years, and was considered one of the most knowledgeable figures in polar exploration.
R4D1 to base, R4D1 to base, position Q5, engine out.
This background makes it harder to dismiss the stories outright. If Byrd was involved in something secret or extraordinary, the world might never know, and that mystery invites endless speculation. But as if the mission wasn't disturbing enough, what the Navy did at the end will leave you speechless. You see, Operation High Jump was supposed to last 6 months, but the Navy called it off after only 2. Official reasons point to extreme weather conditions and logistical challenges that made it too dangerous to continue. But for many observers, this early retreat is suspicious. Why would a mission with such a heavy investment in manpower and equipment be cut short so suddenly? Some historians believe that the real reason was far more serious: an encounter with hostile forces or technology under the ice that forced the Navy to withdraw. In 1959, the United States, Russia, and other global powers eventually signed the Antarctic Treaty. They declared Antarctica a zone dedicated to peace and science and banned all military activity on the continent. While the treaty is widely praised for preserving Antarctica's environment, some observers sees it as a cover-up to keep secret what lies under the ice. The treaty's restrictions on military presence and resource exploitation effectively lock the continent away from public scrutiny and military confrontation, which suggests that governments want to hide something from us. Since then, Antarctica has seen ongoing interest from various governments and research organizations. Permanent bases have been established to study the environment, climate, and wildlife. However, media reports suggest that military and intelligence communities are keeping a close watch on the continent. For Joe Rogan and many others who follows the mystery, Antarctica is a place where official stories and conspiracy theories mix. A land of mystery and endless curiosity. The sheer scale of Operation High Jump, the sudden retreat, and Byrd's mysterious warnings create a puzzle that has never been fully solved. For decades, these elements have drawn the attention of histotrinas, researchers, and curious minds alike. The operation is more than just a military exercise. It's a symbol of the unknown and a gateway to darker secrets. The questions now is about the true nature of Antarctica and the intentions of governments. What did Byrd really discover? Was the mission just a cover for something else? Could there be hidden bases and technologies buried in the ice? These questions remain open and endless. Operation High Jump reminds us that some places on Earth still hold secrets that the world may never fully understand. If Operation High Jump cracked open the door to Antarctica's mysteries, then what's happening there now with Russia might be swinging it wide open. Russia's moves in Antarctica has got the scientific community worried. But the problem is that the world isn't paying attention. What Russia's doing out there isn't just about research. It is setting the stage for something far bigger. Keep watching because you don't want to miss what comes next. Russia's activities in Antarctica. The truth is that Russia's presence in Antarctica is not new, but what's been catching attention lately is just how much they're ramping things up. Since the days of the Soviet Union, they've had a stake in the continent. Also remember that they were one of the original signers of the Antarctic Treaty back in 1959. We mentioned earlier that the agreement locked down the continent for peaceful research, banned military activity, and said no to mining. On paper, that sounds simple, but in practice, it leaves a lot of room for quiet moves under the surface. And it seems Russia has been moving more than most. According to recent reports, they run several research stations across the continent, but two names come up the most: Vostok and Mirny. These aren't small outposts. They're heavily funded, constantly maintained, and have some of the most advanced cold weather gear on the planet. It takes real money and commitment to keep people alive in the middle of Antarctica year-round. And Russia hasn't spared back any resources in doing this. While other countries scale back or struggle with budgets, Russia keeps building and expanding. The biggest breakthrough came at Lake Vostok. This lake sits under almost 2.5 miles of solid ice. It had been sealed off from the surface for around 15 million years, so scientists consider it one of the most isolated environments on Earth. In 2012, Russian scientists drilled through the ice and reached the lake. What they found inside flipped a lot of people's expectations. They discovered living microbes. Let's break it down. Microbes are tiny organisms that had survived in total darkness, under crushing pressure, without contact with the rest of the planet for ages. That alone is interesting from a scientific view, but for someone like Joe Rogan, it opens the door to a whole different set of questions. If life can exist in a place like that, then what else might be hidden down there? What else could be thriving under the ice, untouched by modern civilization? And maybe more important, if a country like Russia finds something truly world-changing, would they even tell the rest of us? After that discovery, Russia didn't slow down. In 2020, they opened a new research station at Vostok.
It's a reminder that Russia has great ambitions for the Arctic, the furthest north of all.
It wasn't just a rebuild, it was a full-on upgrade, packed with advanced technology, improved logistics systems, and the ability to support more people for longer stretches of time. It's clear they're planning to stay in Antarctica for the long haul. They've also been investing in icebreakers. Icebreakers are huge ships designed to cut through frozen seas. These aren't cheap, and Russia's been building more of them while other countries fall behind.
Shifting focus for now, Russia has launched the world's most powerful nuclear icebreaker, Chukotka. Why?
That kind of expansion hints at long-term plans, not just short-term science. If this starts to sound familiar, it should. Russia has taken a similar approach in the Arctic, claiming vast stretches of the seabed, planting flags on the ocean floor, and setting up military bases.
On a frozen, windswept expanse in the Arctic, Vladimir Putin's military ambition is on grand display.
The pattern is clear: move in, build up, and stay put. Antarctica might not allow military activity under the treaty, but that doesn't mean countries aren't preparing. The line between science and strategy gets blurry when you have entire teams operating with high-tech tools and logistical support rivaling small cities. We have come to another interesting part of the video. Stay tuned for the revelations ahead. Why is Russia making such massive investment in Antarctica? Well, one possible reason for all this effort is what might be buried under the ice. Antarctica is believed to hold massive amounts of natural resources. There are estimates of untapped oil reserves, large coal deposits, and even rare earth minerals that are becoming more valuable every year.
According to a report, Russia has found vast oil and gas reserves in the Antarctic.
Mining is banned for now, but treaties can be changed, and time has a way of shifting priorities. For Rogan, this is the real-world motive that makes everything else seem more believable. If the land is hiding something valuable, someone will eventually want to take it. Another surprising thing about Russia's activity is some of the cultural and symbolic gestures they've made. For Iznans, in 2018, a Russian Orthodox priest flew to Antarctica to bless a research station. Photos from the event spread quickly, showing him in full robes, holding a cross in a place where you'd usually expect scientists, not clergy. On the surface, it could be seen as a traditional gesture, a way of marking national pride. But for those already suspicious, it felt like something else entirely. Why bring religious ritual into a place like this? Rogan picked up on this and saw it as strange, maybe even a sign that something bigger was going on behind the scenes. Then there are the rumors of military exercises. In 2015, stories floated around that Russia may have carried out drills in Antarctica, despite the treaty's ban on such activity. These reports were never confirmed and were quickly denied, but even the idea of it stuck. For those already keeping a close eye on what's happening down there, it only worsened the sense that not everything was as innocent as it looked. No proof surfaced, but that didn't matter. The possibility alone gave conspiracy talk more fuel. For Rogan, all of this fits a familiar pattern. He doesn't need concrete evidence to stay interested. The moves themselves, the drilling, the building, the unexplained spending on large icebreakers are enough to raise his eyebrows. He sees a country like Russia putting in serious effort, making bold moves in the middle of nowhere, and he starts to ask why. He's not saying they found aliens or ancient ruins, but he's also not ready to rule it out. That space in between, where facts end and theories begin, is where Rogan likes to live. He's also not blind to the fact that governments, especially ones with a history of secrecy, don't always tell the whole story. So when a country as powerful as Russia builds more stations than anyone else, drills deeper, and invests harder, he takes that seriously. Whether it's to prepare for a treaty collapse, to get ahead on resource claims, or because they've stumbled on something massive, it's clear they're not down there just counting penguins. Russia's role in Antarctica today isn't just about science. It's about presence, control, and possibly much more. Every move they make adds to the mystery. And for Rogan, it's all one big puzzle, part politics, part science fiction, and part something we don't even have a name for yet. This kind of groundwork sets up the perfect context for what's coming next. Because beyond the politics, beyond the old military missions, there's something else that keeps the theory spinning. It's not just about who's down there, it's about what they're finding under the ice. And that is exactly where we are headed next. Stay tuned for the shocking details of discoveries made in Antarctica to date. Secret discoveries under Antarctica's ice. On the surface, Antarctica looks like a frozen wasteland, but don't be deceived, it's not. Antarctica is the ultimate mystery box that keeps getting weirder. The more you look, the less you see. There's something about this place covered in endless ice that makes people lean in closer. It's not just the cold or the isolation, it's the strange stuff popping up all over the place that turns Antarctica into a magnet for wild stories and odd discoveries. Take those pyramids, for example. Satellites have snapped pictures showing 3 perfectly shaped peaks sticking out of the ice. The weird thing? They look way too precise and symmetrical to be natural. People have been talking about these shapes. Some believe that it was an ancient civilization here, long before anyone imagined. It sounds crazy at first, but we never can tell. If they're just natural formations, how did they get so perfect? If not, what could have built them, and why? These pyramids are like a giant mysteries frozen in ice, daring anyone to figure out what's really there. Then there are palunyas. In case you've never heard about them, palunyas are mysterious holes in the sea ice that open up suddenly and don't follow any clear pattern.
Gaps in the sea ice, and they can be big gaps.
They're huge, sometimes stretching across miles of ocean, and nobody really knows why they happen. Scientists believe they are produced by ocean currents or winds, but the truth is, it's still a bit of a mystery. These open patches break up the endless white landscape like gaps in a frozen ice cube. What if there are creatures hidden under the ice creating these holes? Maybe some heat source or movement we don't understand. Whatever the cause, these palunyas feel like the ice itself is alive, breathing strange secrets into the cold air. Dig a little deeper, and you find an entire network of lakes and rivers trapped under miles of ice. These aren't your usual lakes. They've been sealed off for millions of years, isolated from the outside world. Scientists have managed to drill into some of these, and what they've found is mind-blowing. They found whole ecosystems that have evolved without sunlight, completely cut off from the rest of the planet. Imagine life forms that survived in total darkness and freezing cold for millions of years. It's like a secret, frozen biosphere with its own rules. These hidden lakes could be clues not just about Earth's past, but about the possibility of life on other planets where conditions are harsh and strange. But that is not even the most shocking discovery made in Antarctica. One of the most shocking discoveries recently is the massive cavity discovered under the Thwaites Glacier. This glacier is also called the Doomsday Glacier because of how much it could raise sea levels if it melts. Under it, scientists found a huge empty space, like a giant underground cave stretching for miles. This cavity means the glacier is melting faster than expected from underneath, and that's a big deal for the whole planet. but it's also just another secret that the ice keeps locked away. The fact that such a huge void existed and stayed hidden until now makes you wonder what else could be lurking under the ice. Then there's Blood Falls, something that looks straight out of a horror movie. It's a waterfall flowing bright red water right out of the Taylor Glacier. How the red color came to be will surprise you. It all begins with iron-rich water coming out from under the ice. When that water hits the air, it reacts with oxygen and turns red, like rust bleeding through the ice. It's a natural thing, but it's hard not to feel a little disturbed when you see it, like the ice itself is alive and bleeding. It is a reminder that Antarctica isn't just a lifeless ice sheet, it's a strange, complicated place with all sorts of natural phenomena that don't always look natural. You may find this hard to believe, but Antarctica wasn't always frozen. According to data gotten from core samples taken from the ice, Antarctica was once a warm, tropical land. At one point, this continent was covered in rainforests, full of plants and animals thriving in a completely different climate. It's almost impossible to picture now, with the endless ice and freezing temperatures, but that's what the science says. Antarctica's ice holds a record of massive climate changes over millions of years, and that history feels like a clue. If the climate shifted so drastically before, what could it mean for the future? And what else is buried under all that ice from those ancient times? Another shocking discovery made is meteorites. Antarctica is a magnet for space rocks because the ice sheet preserves them so well. Some of the cleanest and oldest meteorites ever found have been discovered here, including rocks from Mars. One of those meteorites even might contain fossilized bacteria, which, if true, pushes the idea of life beyond Earth to a whole new level. Finding these meteorites in Antarctica is like holding pieces of the universe in your hand, frozen in time and waiting for us to figure out their secrets. On top of that, Antarctica has also been a surprising source of fossils. Remains of dinosaurs and ancient plants have been found under the ice, and this shows that the continent was once home to a very different world. These fossils connect Antarctica to a time when it was part of a supercontinent, full of life and warmth. Discoveries like these make you wonder what other ancient secrets are still buried deep beneath kilometers of ice. Could there be more than just bones and plants? What if there are entire ecosystems or ruins waiting to be discovered? The real kicker is that around 70% of Antarctica's land is still unmapped. Most of the continent is unexplored and unknown, a vast white desert where no one has set foot. This means all the strange stuff we already know about might be just a fraction of what's actually there. The discoveries under the ice, whether natural wonders or something stranger, reminds us how little we really know about our planet. Antarctica stands at the edge of our knowledge, a place that challenges scientists, explorers, and storytellers alike. What do you think the Russians want with Antarctica? Share your opinions with us in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, click the following video on your screen, and you will enjoy it.